Yes, yes, yes. We are back. Welcome to another episode of LANCESCURV. I have my other computer in the background at a distance, and it's kind of making an echo. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to play the music for a second, mute the sound of the computer so we don't have an echo, and we'll continue through with that. So give me maybe 20 seconds, and I'll be right back. No problem. I want to go in. I just want to say for those who are still experiencing the joys of morning, good morning. Good afternoon for those who are in this part of the world of West Africa, where I am in the beautiful Ghana. Good afternoon. And for those who may be experiencing nighttime and maybe you can't sleep, so this is the best place to be. Have a good night and listen to what I have to say. You know, when I develop topics or want to talk about certain things, personally, I shoot from the hip. Okay. I don't just watch other people, because if you look into my personality and most people that I know, we're vast. We have a vast set of things that interest us. We have a vast set of categories that, we're all so unique, where we may have an overlapping interest. There's other things about you that I may not know about, or you may be into that I may not have been into, but because of the common interest and overlap, then I can say, hey, I don't know about this other thing that you like, right? Tell me about it. Let me learn about it. This is what keeps me young, because I have a childhood wonderment of all things that are going on in the world, and nothing that is harmful, and nothing that is indecent. But when I come up with these different categories, it's always because of a personal experience or something I have looked into. It's like pulling a thread on a garment. You keep pulling at the thread, it's going to just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And after a while, you expose more, which if you keep pulling at the thread, you're going to expose your body. And we don't want to walk around here naked now, do we? But that's how I am. I'm curious about certain things. And it was a conversation that I had this morning about insecure men specifically. And it evolved once I did a little research, because I searched around about insecure men. The word narcissist kept coming up, which there is an overlap. So I expanded it to narcissistic insecurities, but at the core, I'm speaking about narcissistic men. And once I put that title out there were those who got in contact with me and said, you know what? This is something that I really am interested in talking about. And I said, you know what? Next week, this being Friday, next week is going to be Narcissistic Week. We're going to talk about all the different aspects of narcissism. And I'm not just going to just run, I'm having a moment here, run one aspect of it. No, there's about 50 million aspects of narcissism. Well, I want to break it down at starting points, 5 different starting points from Monday through Friday. And we're going to get into it deep. And I'm going to ask for the suggestions or angles, or to say, hey, Lance, don't forget this aspect. Don't forget that aspect. So when you do that, just hit me up at LANCESCURV.com. I want to welcome everybody in. Master Glam, Sweet D, Oyala, Sister Oyala. Melisha, how are you doing? Sister Oyala, I know you took one of your little breaks. I know you're okay. I'm glad to see you. But I have a a recording I want to send to you. It's so funny. I'll send it to you later on. But I'm just so glad everybody's here. I know that even though it's 12:37 for me, it's 8:37 over there in the East Coast. And this works out fine because I can wake up late and still do a morning show. When I lived on the East Coast, I had to wake up in the morning to do a morning show. And sometimes, you know, I was up late, or oftentimes. Jack Griffin in the house. Yes, my brother. Yes, perfect timing. I'm going to hit you up after the show and we're going to talk about the little thing I sent you. Jack Griffin is a very distinguished, accomplished, and interesting young man. And it would bring me great joy one day if Jack Griffin did his own podcast, because we exchange voicemails with each other. And oh man, the knowledge that he brings, the clarity, the way he speaks, you'd be overjoyed. I'm just trying to encourage you in that, Jack Griffin. Although I know you're Jack Griffin, we know what that means. But I've known Jack Griffin since the mid-70s. We go way back. And he's a true man of integrity, and I love him very much and respect him. And I'm just blessed to have him as my brother / friend / everything good. That being said, this is how I developed the topic today, because I was speaking to Mrs. Scurv. Jay in the house, I'm glad you're here. I just finished saying to everybody that next week is going to be Narcissistic Week. We have to talk about that. Now, mind you, if you look at the bottom of this banner, I always put some a little extra that when I take the scrolly away, you see something else. And that is the title. Now, female narcissists are out there just as much as the males. But from my point of view, I wanted to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about that starting out from the standpoint of insecure men, right? You could be insecure women. But women relate to me differently. And I'm speaking of the prime me, not that I'm subprime or past my prime years. No, I'm 60 years old and I'm proud of it. And I think I'm just as strong in many areas, if not more developed, as far as my personality and my ability to discern things around me. You see, in this society, it's sad that when we hit to a certain or get to a certain chronological age, we even believe ourselves that we're not as good as we were. Now, listen, I'll tell you, I am not going to be the man I was when I was 19, 20 years old in that picture that you always see of me when I was on stage. No, I can try to maintain that, but that should not be the focal point of what I ascend to be, because our bodies will go back to the earth. Our bodies are made to expire. You don't show the police officer when he pulls you over a license from 12 years ago. It's been expired. It's no good. So why would I try to push and put so much focus on, from an ego-driven level, that, yes, I'm 60 years old and, you know, I'm a walking Viagra pill, if you know what I mean. That, come on. I'm cool with who I am today. I've had enough time to explore those more youthful aspects of my physicality, and I'm not caught up in that. But I am where I want to maintain my health. So I want to be the best that I can be, but I'm not walking around with as much testosterone as I used to walk around with. And even then, I wasn't a narcissistic person. So anyway, this topic started out from me talking about insecure men. And everybody has a healthy sense of insecurity in some way. And maybe insecurity is too strong a word, right? But when you see somebody who's in really great shape and you may be a little off, you say, whoa, you know, I got to lose this belly fat. And it reminds you, when you see someone on TV who read many books and they speak so eloquently and they're knowledgeable on certain things, you're like, whoa, I got to pick up on my reading. It doesn't mean you're trying to copy them. It doesn't mean you're trying to hate them, but they stimulated you and motivated you yourself to be a better person than you were incrementally every day. And I strive for that every single day. I mean, I do these shows and I talk about things, my experiences in the past, but in the present, I'm trying to gain new information. I like to talk to people and learn new insights And it helps me to be better as a person, and it helps me to be a better conversationalist, where it's a give and take. Where whatever topic you talk about, I try to know a little bit about everything, and I don't know everything, but I try to know a little bit about it so that person feels comfortable speaking to me. Say, for example, I'm around a bunch of doctors at a party. Well, not a party, but a social gathering. And we're all sitting around the table. Am I going to be insecure because I'm not a doctor and cannot speak the jargon of doctors? I might be able to ask a question that's intelligent enough where they say, whoa, that's an intelligent question. You had to know a little bit about this topic, although you're not a doctor and you don't know as much as me. But wait a second, how did you know that? And it was not like I'm trying to throw around words to impress anybody. But if you study a little bit, read a little bit, go out of your comfort zone from what you read and what you absorb, it will add on to the value of who you are to other people who may not be into the other things that you're into. So you can't typecast me. People will see me walking down the street. Say, okay, this guy, I know he's from New York. And if he's from New York, he must be boisterous and egotistical and rude and loud. And when they sit down with you and talk with you and realize that I may have the ability to turn those attributes on in a confrontation where that's the language we speak, but I can also be a plus to any atmosphere that I'm entered into. And the closest people to me know that I can be the wildest guy in the wildest situation. I don't really take too much joy in just that, because anybody can be that way. But it's like a vehicle that has many gears to it. You can go fast, you can go slower. You know, you're like a sports car that has that low center of gravity that will never flip, even around the curves. So I like to be versatile that way. And because I've always been that way, and I have a confidence from a very long time ago, it started out with the physicality. It started out with the whole thing about me being in control of my body when I was much younger. But I was always that way, where I was an interesting character, right? So it's certain crucial parts of my development. I learned to take the little victories in other parts of my life and bring them into other parts of my life, right? So this is how, let's use Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example. He came to America. He had the dream of being the best bodybuilder in the world at a time when bodybuilders were not making any money at all. But this is what he wanted to do. So him and Franco Colombo came here and they employed themselves by being bricklayers, right? So they did construction and they trained and they lived a Spartan life. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a lot of handicaps that made no sense. That how are you going to come to America where so many things, people are advanced and they have degrees and they have jobs, and you don't speak English and you want to be a bodybuilder? Come on, dude, right? So he learned English. He continued to train. He got a little support from Joe Weider, who owned Muscle and Fitness, and he's deceased right now. The whole IFBB and the Joe Weider thing, I'm not going to get too much into that. The bottom line is that as he began to win Mr. Olympias, and you have a little bit of luck also. They filmed Pumping Iron and they saw this guy with this charismatic personality. He's a handsome man, no homo, well built, and he wanted to get into movies. And because of the people who were filming the documentary, they had connections. And so he knew that even when he got into movies and stuff, he might have to downsize and lose a little muscle, lose a little weight. He did whatever it took. Then he's this Conan, he's Terminator. Wait a second. An Austrian bricklayer who had muscles, who couldn't speak English. But you see how fast things can turn around. So he continued to do so. He married Maria Shriver. Yeah, we know he messed around with the housekeeper years later, made another child. But the bottom line is that you can take the confidence that you have in one area of your life and move it over into something else. That explains me. I know, and I have my own personal saying, which keeps me humble, that everybody is a little stupid in something. But you can know a little bit about everything. It doesn't mean you have to push and try to outdo somebody in what you know because of ego, because everybody is a little stupid in something. So that has undergirded and kept me grounded, where if I wanted to excel in anything, I would put the work in and I'd make sure. Hold on one second. You looking for that? I'm sorry, I drank it up. It was a little bit left. Don't beat me up. I'm on a live show. I'm saying this so if I get beat up, people know who beat me up, Mrs. Scurv, all right? I was thirsty. I couldn't help myself. But anyway, I didn't have to mute myself for that. I'll let you hear that. That's proof. So if I have a black eye tomorrow, you know where it came from, right? Anyway, go to Mr. Scurv's channel, Lily Vegan, and subscribe. You know, there's a lot of new stuff that's there. And check it out, right? Just spread and share it. So that being said, I'm a little different. I honor the greatness in other people. I am not intimidated by that. I actually applaud the accomplishments and the great attributes in others. And I have no problem being in the background. I have no problem undergirding and supporting someone who is also trying to make themselves better from wherever they stand. Because we can have the most humblest of beginnings, but if we have the firm foundation of true confidence and the ability to understand that you have to work tirelessly to build yourself, you don't have to be insecure about anybody at all. So the topic is going to start out speaking about insecure men. Not necessarily narcissistic, because that's the original topic that this conversation this morning started me out to think about this. So bear with me on that. So we're going to speak about insecurities that way. And I pulled up an article that kind of covered those things. And it was written in a way where we're speaking about the insecurities of men as they are in relationships. And then we'll segue into the narcissistic part of it. So for people just coming in and they ask in the chat room, what happened? He's supposed to be speaking about narcissists. Not yet. This may overlap, but I want to speak about what stimulated me to even come to this topic at all. And again, I'm going to say it this way. Next week is going to be dedicated to narcissism and the different angles of narcissism. And I want to hear people in the comment section kind of guide me to the different categories of narcissism experiences. And I will have people come on in and speak about that even today if you want to, right? So this is just a sample. This is just a taste. This is just a down payment on what is yet to come. This is the menu, right? And I want to read from this. And again, this article is written about insecure men as they are in relation to relationships, right? And the name of the article, and I always put it in on LANCESCURV.com, the corresponding post of this video and of this show, and I'll drop it in later on. Beware. If your man does this or does these 15 things, he's majorly insecure. Now, this is something in general, right? Because we have the general population. There's overlap with that community worldwide as it is in the African or American African community worldwide. But there are certain things more so with black folk and black men that they do. That's not going to come out in this article, but I'll add some things as I see fit. I didn't even read the article all the way yet, but I saw that it had some really good things, right? So here we go. It's the first one, or really this is a introduction. And here it goes. Most women have found themselves caught up in toxic, unhealthy relationships with insecure men. If you've ever missed the signs a man is insecure when you first started dating, the following scenario probably sounds familiar. Just let me know how the sound sounds, if the sound is good before I go on in, because I'm reading the article and I don't see the chat room, but I'll look in a second here. And I want you to tell me and give me some feedback on how the sound is. Is it loud and clear? Is it muffled? Do I sound like a robot? Or do you hear me at all? I know you hear me. Somebody would have said no sound by now. I'll check back with that, but I'm going to continue to read the article, right? Now, well, I lost the article. Where is it? Okay. Okay, is this it? No, this is not it. Where did I put this article? I know I didn't click off of this article. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, I got it here, right? Okay. You meet a new man and he seems great. He picks you up, presents you with roses, opens your door, takes you to an elegant restaurant, and endlessly compliments you throughout the night. He repeatedly tells you, his voice laced with incredulous wonder, that he can't believe you agreed to go out with him since you're so far out of his league. He treats you like a princess, and it's all so flattering. It's a refreshing change to feel so appreciated, especially if you have a pattern of dating jerks and you began thinking that maybe he's the one. But then things head south, and his sweet attentiveness turns to overwhelming obsession. It no longer feels like he treasures and cherishes you. It feels like overbearing possessiveness. It takes all your energy to assure your man and then reassure him over and over and over again that you love him, and it's sucking the life out of you. By definition, insecure people are those who are lacking confidence and doubting their own abilities. Insecure people have little confidence and are uncertain about their own abilities or if other people really like them. Unfortunately, insecure men are everywhere. And if your boyfriend or husband does most or all of the following things, he's probably one of them. To avoid another broken heart caused by dating insecure men, here are 15 signs of insecurity to watch out for in relationship. Boom. Number 1, he has no outside friends or interests. He never mentions any friends and doesn't hang out with anyone but you. Outside of work, he has no interests or hobbies. He doesn't go to the gym, play any sports, takes any classes, volunteer, or go to church. When he isn't with you, he's sitting at home thinking about you, or maybe he did have friends and hobbies at one time, but he gave them all up in order to spend every single minute with you. 2, he thinks you still have feelings for your ex. He's convinced you aren't over your ex, even if you've been divorced, broken up for years, and the only feelings you have for him are disappointment, pity, loathing, disgust, and a smidgen of residual hatred. His insecurity is so overwhelming that he can't see reason and will convince himself that you couldn't possibly love him. So the only logical conclusion is that you're still in love with your ex. 3, he tells you he loves you right away. Very early in the relationship, he professes his undying love for you. You could fly through the air while shouting, "He loves me, he loves me, he loves me." But the sane part of you feels like, he loves me. Wait, what? This is our second date. That's crazy talk. It takes time to get to know someone enough to love them. And if your new boyfriend is telling you he loves you right off the bat, it should sound warning bells, especially if he pressures you into saying it back to him. 4, he tells you that you're his everything. You're his world, the center of his universe, his reason for living. At first, it may seem flattering to be so valued so highly, right? But being the center of one's world isn't all it's cracked up to be. That's too much pressure to live up to. And what happens when you hit a bump in the road in your relationship? When things aren't going smoothly, his world falls apart. He falls apart because you are his world. 5, he needs constant validation. He frequently asks you questions like, "Why do you love me?" He fishes for compliments. Then, when you assure him that you do find him attractive, he doesn't believe you. Everyone likes to hear that they're loved, pretty, talented, attractive, intelligent, and desired. But his needs go beyond that, or go beyond those of the rest of us. He generally suffers from low self-esteem, which incidentally is the driving force behind many of his insecure behaviors. 6, he's jealous of your friends. He's jealous of the time you spend with your friends. He doesn't like you to meet coworkers after work for happy hour. He doesn't like you going shopping with girlfriends. And heaven forbid you have any platonic relationships with men. He frequently calls and texts to check up on you when you're out without him. At first, his possessiveness may make you feel special and wanted. But after some time, the possessiveness will become exasperating when you feel you can't do anything with your friends without upsetting him. 7, he threatens to break up with you. He plays this sort of game wherein he threatens to leave or break up with you. He says things like, I don't feel wanted, or I don't think you really love me. He doesn't really want to end the relationship. He's hoping you'll beg him to stay. If you do, it validates his fragile ego. If you don't, he'll take it all back and do whatever he can so he doesn't lose you. He's just testing your devotion to him and demanding that validation he so craves. Eventually, you'll either be stuck in this unhealthy relationship or you'll tire of this little game and gladly let him leave the next time he threatens it. 8, he talks about his exes and how they cheated on him. According to him, his exes never really loved him. He insisted in every past relationship he was the innocent victim. No one loved him. They used him and cheated on him. This may be true in the reason why he's so insecure, or it may be in his head because of his insecurity. If you're a sympathetic person who feels the need to protect and champion the underdog, his tales of woe will tug at your heartstrings. You may decide that you'll never be the one to leave or hurt him, but take the stories of his exes as a warning if you don't want to feel guilted into staying in a bad relationship. 9, he stalks you on Facebook and other social media. He's always aware the very second you post a status update on Facebook, a tweet, or an Instagram post. He follows you and always knows what you're up to. He may even get upset if he reads what you're up to on Facebook when you didn't tell him personally before posting it for everyone to read. Unless you're Kim Kardashian, there's just something a little creepy about being stalked. Now, that's part of the article. I did not see Kim Kardashian because she's not the epitome of anything for me. Number 10, he checks your phone. He looks over your shoulder when you receive a text. He may nonchalantly ask who you're texting, or he might outright demand to see your phone. He oftentimes feels like you're hiding something from him if you're on your computer or phone, even if you're just checking your work email or texting a girlfriend a recipe for lasagna. 11, he smothers you with attention and gifts. At first, you're swept off of your feet by his sweet thoughtfulness, but after a while, you start to question his lavish gifts and attention. Is he motivated to give you gifts out of pure love, or out of desire to buy your affection and ensure you won't leave him? Good one. Number 12, he thinks you're being unfaithful. He can't quite shake his suspicions that you're cheating on him. He may accuse you of flirting with the waiter, having an affair with a coworker, or just looking around for someone better. It isn't necessarily that he doesn't trust you. It's more about him feeling like he's not good enough for you. So it's just a matter of time until you find somebody better. 13, he gets upset if you can't be with him every day. Within minutes of leaving after your date, he'll text you that he misses you. At first, his attention is so sweet. Who doesn't want to feel so desired? It doesn't take long to start to feel overwhelmed with his obsessive attention. He wants to see you every other day and gets upset if you have other responsibilities that take you away from him. He has a way of making you feel guilty if you need to go to work, run errands, or meet a friend and can't go out with him. 14, his moods depend on you. It's normal and it's a good thing to be sensitive to your moods of your partner. But with an insecure man, his mood will be totally dependent on you. If you're happy and loving toward him, he will be in a great mood. If you're frazzled, trying to juggle 1,000 things, and don't have time to constantly assure him that you're in love with him, he'll be sad and depressed. His codependent behavior puts an extraordinary amount of pressure on you to always make sure you're in a good mood so he doesn't get down. 15, he's overly sensitive to criticism. No one likes to be criticized, but insecure people take even the kindest, most constructive criticism really badly. They have low self-esteem and cannot bear to have their suspicions about themselves validated when someone points out a flaw. If you open up and tell your partner that he's smothering you and you need a little time alone, he's likely to turn it around on you. Instead of listening to your concerns, reflecting on his behavior, and promising to back off a little bit to give you space, he turns it around. Wow. I've known people like that. I've known women like that. But there are a lot of men out here. Like I said, I'm speaking about the men today. Let me take a sip of this water and take a little peek at the chat room. See how it's moving? Yeah, you all are getting down with this. The sound sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me take a little sip. You like the New York accent. New York is not New York like York with Y-O-R-K. It's New York like Y-A-W-K. Glad to see you back, Ayala. I know you needed a break. Look, it's like going to the bathroom. You have to get certain things out of you. Being online is toxic. The things we see, you know, man, I haven't taken a break in a long time. I don't think I ever will. I don't know, but I need to. I take my little breaks in small increments. You know what I mean? But anyway, let me take a sip. I am thirsty. I am so thirsty. This amount of water I have is not enough. I know I have to drink a lot more in a little while. Yeah. You all know through experience, especially the young ladies, about the men who are like this. And then this is not man bashing, but you know I like to go in surgical precision on any topic that I speak about, right? And there's another one that speaks on the insecurities. Oh yes, let's talk about this. And after this, I'm going to segue into the whole narcissistic thing. I'm going to read these all. There's a whole lot of these bad boys, but it needs to be said. So that's what we're here for. Okay. Now, this is another article. 25 male common insecurities men have that women have no idea about. Wow. Wow. Okay, here we go. Everyone knows that women feel insecure, and many of us know what some of their most common insecurities are. However, we tend to give way less attention to the kind of insecurities that men face. It just seems to be forgotten in the conversation, but male insecurities are definitely worth talking about. A guy will rarely admit to suffering from body image issues, or he'll refuse to disclose his anxiety when first having sex with a new partner. They're not usually in the habit of wanting to talk about it. But if you don't know what insecurities he's plagued with, you never know when you might hurt his feelings when you accidentally bring up a sore topic. Despite the fact that men don't openly talk about what makes them insecure about themselves, a lot of them really wish women would just be a bit more understanding of their issues, right? What are insecurities? You might think that everyone knows what an insecurity is because almost everyone has them. So what actually is insecurity? Well, it's multifaceted. In a nutshell, insecurity is an overall sense of uncertainty or anxiety about your worth, skills, abilities, or value as a person. Insecurities can have a lot of negative impacts on someone's life, including physical, emotional, and mental. When you have insecurities, you can't fully function to your potential. There are a lot of symptoms of insecurity. In general, the person has an overriding feeling of inadequacy and a lack of self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth. They also aren't capable of coping very well with the stress of life and feel uncertain about the world. They might even be anxious about their relationships with other people. The most common male insecurities women don't know about. Here are some of the insecurities that guys deal with on a regular basis that girls often don't realize. 1, body image issues. Guys struggle with their body image the same way girls do. A guy might worry about being too scrawny or question if a girl will be turned off by his beer belly. Why do you think so many guys are at the gym, vigorously working on their arms, pecs, and abs? Guys can also be insecure about their height, especially if they are shorter or drastically taller than the person they're dating. Number 2, face and body hair. So many guys go through similar hair removal efforts as women in order to minimize their body hair and feel more attractive. Other guys are obsessed with their lack of ability to grow facial hair and are therefore insecure that they look young or less manly. Other guys shave regularly to avoid looking scruffy or too hairy. That's me. I'm always shaving my face. I don't like to look scruffy. But it's not an insecurity. It's just the way I am. Number 3, his hands and feet. Guys can be super insecure if they have feminine looking or small hands because it can seem less macho and masculine to a girl. Some even feel like they'll be judged for having delicate hands because it makes them look like they don't know how to work with their hands. Having small feet is another sensitive subject for guys because of the myth that small feet equate to having a small package. Let me rephrase that. Small feet equate to having a small dick. Okay, dick is not somebody's named Dick, right? Anyway, some men might go to drastic measures like wearing shoes that are too big for them just to avoid being judged by their boys or little girl or a girl they like. 4, his teeth and his smile. Believe it or not, guys can be insecure about their smile and their teeth just as much as women. Whether they have super small teeth, gaps over bites, or crooked teeth, they all worry that they look unattractive or come across as having poor hygiene. Finances. Guys can be super insecure about their finances and how much money they make, based on the assumption that men are supposed to support a family or bring home the bacon. Even though this is old-fashioned macho mentality, men still feel the pressure to measure up to other men financially. Some guys believe that girls will stick with someone who is more financially secure and thus worry that their girlfriend will leave them for someone who makes more money than they do. That's why it's one of the common male insecurities that not a lot of women are aware of because they don't worry about things like that. Number 6, his living situation. Most guys know that women generally prefer a man who has his own place. If he's a mama's boy who still lives at home and has zero responsibilities inside the house, chances are he's dropped a few notches on the ideal date scale. A guy will usually aspire to live on his own and will feel incredibly insecure if his living situation ruins his image. Number 7, his car. Guys take pride in their cars because they can feel like an extension of themselves. If a guy drives a jalopy, he may be incredibly insecure about what other guys and girls think of him. Having a nice car is often part of the package of a confident guy. If he's still paying to get through college before his dream car, he could be feeling the pressure. But then again, this is me talking. This is not the article. A lot of guys who have money, who are affluent, who have been very successful, will drive a jalopy with the bumper hanging off, held up by a daggone metal coat hanger as a test, right? To see if a woman is into him for him and not for the superficial. Number 8, how he measures down there. When it comes to a guy's pleasure pistol, I gotta use pleasure pistol. I like that one. He will wonder incessantly about how he measures up to other guys his age. Guys will watch porn just to compare their member to other guys in order to feel like they aren't abnormal or lacking in some way. Guys can be insecure about whether or not their penis looks and its shape makes them less than normal. They will obsess about the length, girth, color, texture of their penis, how their balls look, if being circumcised or uncircumcised is better, and whether or not they should trim or shave their hair down there. God, dog, I didn't know it was that bad. Let me tell you something, though. In the public, you have urinals in the public bathroom. You go to the mall, you go to a hospital, you go in public transportation, wherever, and you know, I mean, women know what urinals are. It's like a little opening, little thing that you pee into, and it's at a good height that most men could be accommodated, right? And it was always strange to me. If you have 10 urinals, the unwritten straight man law is that if you have 10 of them and you go in, you don't go in the middle, you go way to the end. So the second man that comes in to urinate while you're still urinating, he'll usually go to the other side. That's the man code. Like, I'm not trying to look at your dick. But when you are peeing and you're way on the end, you have 10 urinals, and this guy walks past 8 of them and goes to the 9th one, and you're in the 10th one, and he's looking at you while he's peeing, something's wrong. Either he's gay, he's trying to send you a message, or he's trying to peek at what you have because of his own insecurity. I have experienced that. No, I'm not the guy that stands next to somebody looking at them, but I'm the guy who goes down to the end. I'm like, you got to turn. Like, what are you trying to look at? Smiling. That's gay. To each his own. But yeah, a lot of men are really hung up, and they look at men's bulges. They go to the beach and they side-eye glance to see, is he working with something more than me? It shouldn't matter. The girl likes you. She's dating you. She knows what you got. She's okay with it. You may think it's small, or you may think it's ugly, whatever. If she, men are weird. Some men could be straight weird. I'm going to tell you all that. I can tell, look, whatever idiosyncrasies I've had in my life, I've dealt with them and worked on them. I'm not going to walk around with some weirdo vibe. A lot of men are like that, Anyway, number 9, sexual performance. All guys want to believe that they are the best you've ever had in bed. However, unless they're incredibly conceited, they will generally feel insecure about one thing or another when it comes to having sex with a new girlfriend for the first time. Believe it or not, while you're trying to hide your cellulite, he's wondering that you're thinking when he takes, or what you're thinking when he takes off his shirt, and how he looks when he's getting into it. Guys can be incredibly self-conscious about how much they sweat during sex and how fast or slow they orgasm, in addition to the noises and facial expressions they make. He will also be insecure about whether or not you're faking your orgasm. And so comes the epic question that almost every guy asks after sex: was it good for you? A guy's ego hangs on a thread for the answer. Come on. That's something you don't do. I'm going to do a show where the things that men are not supposed to do that they do. And I'm telling you, I've talked to enough women where they let me know, and I'm a specialist on that. I've heard some funny stories, but that's for another day. Remind me if I forget. A couple weeks go by, you did say you were going to talk about this, right? I'll say, no problem. That's something I can even record and just put up. His job. This is a very common male insecurity. It's a fact that some guys pride themselves on the level that they are in their job or career. Guys who are still at minimum wage jobs are constantly insecure about how they measure up in society and in the eyes of the people that matter to them. Whereas guys in higher positions feel a sense of pride, accomplishment, and self-confidence. That makes sense. 11, sense of style. Some guys wonder what others think of their personal style and clothing choices. Women aren't the only ones who obsess over their sense of fashion, especially when trying to attract the opposite sex. Men are also guilty of trying on different outfits before settling on a style that they feel comfortable with. They also judge themselves based on how other guys dress. Number 12, their natural odor. Ever wonder why some guys seem drenched in cologne when you meet them first? It's because secretly they worry about if you'll like their natural scent. Guys can actually be insecure about whether or not they smell good on their on their own, or if their natural cologne can be off-putting to women. Men, think about these things. Intelligence. Similar to being insecure about their jobs and financial situation, they think their intelligence is tied to their date ability, because men always want to be the alpha male in the top dog. They also feel the pressure to dominate in the intellectual field. They want to be smarter than any man or woman, so they feel like the most important person in the room. I can talk a lot about that, man. 14, hair loss. The hair on a man's head is another cause for insecurity, especially if he's balding or thinning. He might hide behind hats or even shave his head in order to avoid being ridiculed by his friends of the opposite sex. He thinks he is less attractive if he has thinning hair or bald spots. Let me tell you something. I'm scared right now because back in 1999, I think I just shaved my head because I was tired of going to the barbershop all the time because I wanted my hair cut to be perfect. So I shaved it off and I kept it that way. But I'm recently finding out that as it grows back, it might be a little thin in certain areas. So I'm like, yo, I'm not going to let it grow. No, but I'm not insecure about that. Really, that's really, it's not about what's going on top of the head, but it's what's going on under the inside the head. But I know men who are very insecure. They portray confidence as long as they have a hat on. You snatch that hat off and you realize they look like bozo. Hence the banner, right? 15, their personality. Not all men are insecure about their personality, but a lot of them are, especially if they tend to be introverted or shy. Our world values outgoing, personable people. And if a guy is on the shy side, he might think that no one really likes him very much because he's boring. Doesn't mean that. 16, emotional intimacy. Being honest and vulnerable is very difficult for a lot of guys. And it's another common male insecurity. Sometimes it's connected to behavior or something in their past that they are embarrassed or ashamed about. Many men grew up in families where expressing emotions were not encouraged, so they don't know how to do it. When, in their adulthood, they are asked to be emotionally intimate, they feel like it's a threat to their security and emotional well-being. Number 17, physical disabilities. When a man gets injured, whether it's temporary or permanent, it impacts their emotional security. Physical disability can impact their work, relationships, or hobbies, whether it's just that they sprained their ankle or if they lost a limb. Not being in their top physical shape is worrisome to a lot of men. Oh, here's another one. 18, developing breasts. The condition known as gynecomastia. Am I saying it right? I think I'm saying it right. Always gyno. That's how we say it in the gym. He's got, it's often referred to as having. It happens when men develop breasts as a result of imbalances in testosterone and estrogen. I had a joke one time. I said, I just don't get along with men who have titties, men who have men boobs. I'm always attacked by dudes who had breasts. I never get along with them. They got their insecurities. And the thing is, like I say, the imbalances in testosterone. Okay, wait a second. Am I off here? Let me see. Okay, I thought it was because it said something about a bad connection. So I think I'm still good. Yeah. They might be heavy alcohol drinkers. They may not do any exercise. They do things to attack their testosterone levels and they reduce the testosterone, right? And so now the man boobs come. Don't be mad at me. I don't have the full pecs and the pec line that I used to have. I don't have no man titties. And if I did, I'd know how to work on them. That's the thing. If you're insecure about something, work on the daggone thing. You know what I mean? Work on it, right? Okay. 19, looking old. No one really wants to look old, and men are no different. As a lot of women do, they fear how their face and their body ages. Men don't want to have old, baggy eyes. And even though some people find it distinguished, most men don't want to have gray hair either. They want to stay attractive for as long as possible. So the aging process makes a lot of them insecure. Number 20, not meeting expectations. Demands that are placed on a man, whether they are his own or someone else's, can make him feel like he's in a race to perform. But many times, these high standards are met with disappointment, resentment, and feeling that he isn't capable of meeting those expectations. If he doesn't, that makes him feel very inadequate. Number 21, expressing emotions. This is similar to emotional intimacy, but a bit different. This is more general. This is a more general form of emotional insecurity that's triggered by any bad experience. Some men are just really uncomfortable showing their emotions or even receiving emotions from another person, even from their own family. They probably also have a hard time emphasizing or empathizing with other people or making deep connections with others. Number 22, erectile dysfunction. Drum roll, please. This is another one of the common male insecurities. Most people that a lot of men have most people know that a lot of men have sexual insecurities about their penis or their performance in bed. But a lot of them also worry about whether or not their penis will even work. Erectile dysfunction can affect men of all ages. It could just be a situational, okay, let me see what this is here. This keeps popping up. Okay, I'm good. I think it's just this particular website. I'm almost done with what I'm reading with, right? Where was I? Okay, erectile dysfunction can affect men of all ages. It could be just situational and based on being nervous, or it could be age related. Either way, this is a huge insecurity for men because they don't want to let their partners down. Well, there's other things you can do. 23, whether or not they're good husbands. Most men want to be stable providers for their wives and children. So being a good partner is important to a lot of men, right? If their marriage isn't happy, it can take a toll on his self-worth over time. And if he's not able to communicate this to his wife, this builds resentment over time in his wife. And then they will eventually grow distant from one another. Number 24, if they are a good dad. When a man has to work a lot, they may miss important moments with their children. They might miss the first steps or the first words. And they might even have to miss their baseball games and ballet recitals. All of this makes them wonder if they're being good enough dads. And that thought alone will make them feel insecure. 25, height. Let's face it. Most people like tall men. Being tall gives a person a sense of power. They can look down on other people, literally, if they are tall. So if a man is short, this can give him an inferiority complex. It makes it more difficult to find a woman to date or marry, since a lot of women prefer men who are taller than them. The final thoughts of this article. Women are often all too quick to forget that guys need approval and security the same way that girls do. If you're in a relationship, remember to go easy on your guy now that you know he's facing his own war against his own insecurities. Compliment him and make sure he knows exactly what you like about him. It doesn't hurt to tell him when he's doing a good job in bed either. When he feels secure and confident, you'll definitely have a happy man on your hands. Wow. Good article, good article. But it's blanking out on me over here. So let me just take that out. And just let me check here if everything is going good on the stream. Good. Yes, everybody who's here, Alkebular Man, Denise Horn, welcome on in. Gina G, Madam Fat Ass. Okay, I'm not used to that name, I know. I didn't get to the narcissistic part, but I sent you a message. I don't know if you can come in now, Madam Fat Ass, but I would like if you could, let me see. I'm gonna drop the link. Let me see if Madam Fat Ass can come in. I didn't know you had that name, but I'm dropping a link here if you want to say anything. I didn't get to the narcissistic part. I'm about to get there now. If you just click this link, you know how the program works. Everything is covered with the banner. Nobody's going to see anybody's face. You're completely, anonymous and everything. But Madam Fat Ass, I would love for you to come in and just talk a little bit. If you can, click that link and that would make my day, because now I'm ready to segue into the narcissistic part of things. And there's nobody that I know better prepared to speak about narcissism more than you, if you can. So click that link that I just put in the chat room. And is there anybody else who wants to say anything? Let me know before I segue into that. But Madam Fat Ass, if you can, oh yes, Madam Fat Ass is in the house. Let me turn this up. Talk to me, sister. Greet everybody. And I'm going to ask you a question off the bat, but yeah, let me hear your voice.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay. Madam Fat Ass.
I had to use my Madam Fat Ass channel because
right.
channel and then my regular Madam Whip Ass channel
Right, right, right. Oh, let me just say, we got a little joke going on here. Our brother here, Al Kebula, man, he said, "Hey, Lance, I want to see Madam Fat Ass." So we joking right now, and we've known each other for a long time, several decades. And I think she would not be upset if I told you that Madam Fat Ass does have a fat ass. Don't you, Madam Fat Ass?
The reason why it's Madam Fat Ass because Madam Fat Ass in 2016 quit smoking cigarettes and gained 30 pounds and turned into a fat ass.
Oh, well.
But my ass is still fat.
Yeah, but in a good way, right?
Yeah.
We're realistic. We're realists here, you know? But anyway, you might have a fat ass, but the best attribute of you is your intelligence and your insight and your ability to break certain things down. And all the decades I've known you, you have been the master of spotting narcissists and breaking it down and tying it into other categories in a brilliant way. That being said, I want you to explain, and we can go read something off, but we're not going to do that. And probably we won't even read the other articles because you're here. You are the textbook of all of that. Those people who wrote the articles probably picked your brain to write it.
Nah, you're far too kind.
What is a narcissist in your words? What is a narcissist?
Well, let me give you some history.
Okay.
So,
no, listen. While you I'm gonna go get some water. So keep talking. I'm gonna step away for 90 seconds and fill up my water jug here. So keep talking. I can hear you.
Okay, you're good. So I first heard the term narcissist back in like 2002. And what happened was I was following this crazy case out in California, the Scott Peterson, Lacey Peterson case. To make a long story short, pregnant Lacey Peterson witnessing on Christmas Eve of 2002. Longest story short, her husband took her and dumped her in the San Francisco Bay. And it was a big, long, drawn out, riveting case. And I was watching the talking heads, and every now and then they would say, "Oh, he's narcissistic," and the narcissism. And I kept hearing it over a couple of months, and I was like, "What is that word?" So I decided to look it up, and boy, did that drag me down a rabbit hole. I started researching narcissistic personality disorder for turned into like 10 years, actually. And maybe after the first 3 months of reading about it and studying it, it got to the point. I mean, it was like an obsession with me. I would have my girlfriends and invite them out to dinner. And over dinner, I would start talking to them about it. And it was funny because, you know, after several times and we go to dinner and they're like, "Oh God, we got to hear about this again." I'm like, "Listen, pay attention." And I'd go into something else that I researched about it. And then after a while, you know, one of them said, "You know what? My brother's like that. You know what? I work with somebody like that." And then they couldn't get enough of it. So back then when I started researching it, I used to have all this information. I don't know what happened to it now, but there was 20 traits of a narcissistic individual. And the term really derives from a Greek mythology, I believe, character called Narcissus. And Narcissus one day was walking in the woods or someplace in the forest, and there was a lake. And when he looked in the lake, he saw his reflection and thought he was so magnificent and beautiful that he got stuck there and couldn't move because he kept looking at himself. And that's pretty much, in a nutshell, what a narcissistic individual is. They are infatuated and stuck with themselves. Everything around their world literally revolves around them, so they think and feel. And it's almost like a godlike complex. They love to be worshipped. And how are they worshipped? They are worshipped in a form of what they call narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is a way to get individuals to feed your narcissism by worshiping you in various ways. Now, ladies, let me give you a scenario, if you will allow me to. Let's suppose you meet this guy. And this is one thing about narcissists. They're very keen on they're like chameleons, and they can change themselves into whoever you might be looking for in a mate. They're very acute in zoning in on those qualities that you're looking for. And they turn become everything you have always wanted in a man.
Madam, interject.
Me,
Are you on a speakerphone or regular?
I'm on my regular phone. You can't hear me?
Okay, so you're not on. No, I can hear you, but it fades and then it comes in, it fades, it comes in. Maybe it's your positioning, but I was thinking.
Oh.
Just keep your mouth close to the mouthpiece, if anything. I can hear you.
How about that?
But
better?
Oh, you sound good now. Yeah, much better. Whatever you did, keep on, girl.
Okay. So,
right.
You meet this guy and he just seems like the perfect person. Y'all share the same ideals. Y'all like whatever it is that y'all like together, you know, same common interests. Yeah, I mean, y'all get along like two peas in a pod. And it goes on and on like this. He's just so wonderful. And you're wonderful to him, and y'all are wonderful for each other. And it goes on and on. And all of a sudden, after about, it could be 3 months, could be 6 months, hell, it could be a year. Never had an argument. I mean, just smooth sailing. Everything is just right. And all of a sudden, one day, y'all decide to have movie night like y'all always do because you enjoy each other's company so much. And in the middle of the movie, he turns and looks at you and says, you know, I don't think this relationship is working. And you turn and look at him like, excuse me? Yeah, I don't think this relationship is working out. And you're like, are you joking? No, this relationship is not working out. Well, what do you mean? What kind of problems do we have? Everything is fine. What's the matter? And I don't know. It's just not working out. He gets up and walks right out of the room and right out of the house. And with that, he changes. All of a sudden, he acts like he's bored with you. He snaps at you. He doesn't pay you any more attention. Yo, you know, let's just suppose y'all are living together at this point. He starts doing other things that don't include you. You know, you walk into the room. Look, y'all haven't had sex in about 4 weeks. You walk in the room and he's masturbating. And after a while, you start thinking it's something wrong with you. It's something that you did. And you start working hard to get that relationship back to where it was. And you're trying to fix yourself. And what you don't understand is the person that was wonderful, whom you initially started dating and you moved in together and everything was fine. You got to understand that was a mask that person was wearing. You're working hard, and this can go on for years. You're working hard to get that person back, that relationship. But the person that you're dealing with now, that's the real person. That person that you met, that was a figment of his imagination. It was a mask. The mask has come down, and you're like a hamster in, you know, little wheels some hamsters be running in. That's what you're running in, trying to get back a person that was never real. The person you're dealing with now, the nasty person, that's the real person. Next thing you know, before you know it, you are devastated. You could be devastated mentally, emotionally, God forbid, physically, or financially. It's terrible when you're damaged in all four categories. You know? And those scars don't heal. They don't go away. If you have no concept about narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic abuse, narcissistic supply, excuse me. And it's really something. That's why I kept educating everybody who would listen about narcissistic personality disorder, because there still are many people who have no concept of this, and they are in the most abusive, horrific relationships. They are blaming themselves. They are confused. They are a bag of mess, and not realizing that they're chasing after a ghost, if you will.
Right.
And so, with all that being said, I implore you to begin to do your own research. Now, a classic example of someone that is a malignant narcissist is Donald Trump.
Woo!
And what bothers me the most is out here in these YouTube streets, you'll see people accuse other people of being a narcissist. They have no idea what a narcissist is. Most people you see out here in these YouTube streets being accused of being a narcissist, that's not that. A narcissist in a relationship will give you a calling card. What is a calling card? If you date somebody and they say stuff like, you know, hey, you better keep an eye on me. You never know what I'll do. That's a calling card. They're telling you they ain't shit. They'll say little things and you'll be like, oh, you're so crazy. They're telling you up front. Another thing that narcissists do, and another term that I see thrown all over the place out here in these YouTube streets, is gaslighting. Everybody's don't gaslight me. And I'm like, you people have no idea what gaslighting is. What is gaslighting?
Yes.
Gaslighting is when somebody distorts your reality. For example, let's suppose somebody says, let's suppose your mother calls you over. She's not feeling well. And she says, can you go across the street to get me some milk? I need my milk to take my medication. You go across the street, you get the milk, you get a glass of water, you get her meds out, whatever. You give her medication. And you okay, Mom? Yeah, I'm fine. And you go back to your home, take care of your own family. Next thing you know, everybody else is calling you in the family, cussing you out because your mother asked you to go get some milk from across the street and you wouldn't even help her. You didn't do it. And then your mother's telling you to your face, you never went across the street to get me any milk. You never came over here. You never assisted me with my medications.
Wow.
And they believe it. They believe their own lies so much that you start questioning your sanity. Like, maybe I didn't go over there and go across the street and get milk and get her some water and get her medication down, make sure she took her meds. Maybe I didn't do that at all. That is an example of gaslighting. Just because someone disagrees with you or has a different point of view from your argument or whatever, doesn't mean they're gaslighting you. They just see something a different way. And that's the example of what I see out here in these YouTube streets. Somebody disagrees with you. They say, oh, you're gaslighting me. That's not gaslighting. Someone sees a situation from a different perspective. Oh, you're gaslighting. No, it's not. They just see a situation from a different perspective.
Wow.
Anyway, that's all I got for now. And yeah, I must go. But I thank you all for listening. And if you like, you can sub to Madam Whip-Ass Reads channel. And there's another channel, Madam Whip-Ass, that has 2 birds in the icon. And I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Lance, for having me on.
Kids, we want more. Well, listen, we're gonna do a little thing tomorrow. And like I said before you go, I said that I want to cover narcissism all week from Monday to Friday. And I know you have other obligations that you can't probably make it when I go live, that if you record it, you know, on your phone or WhatsApp, certain, as I designate the days, I want you to go on in and send me the clip so that we'll have that extra part in there the way you do, because it flows off your lips so eloquently and effortlessly. And you're the first person that I used that joke on when I said, when Madam Whip-Ass or Madam Fat-Ass passes gas, I smell wisdom. Remember that?
Yeah, and I told some kids that, and they cracked up. They said, Miss Madam, did you pass gas? And I'm like, no, that wasn't me, but if I did, you'd smell intelligence.
Yeah, intelligence too, right?
They cracked up. But anyway, yeah, I gotta go. Thank you all for listening, and peace.
Definitely. All right. Thank you. Thank you. The great Madam Fat-Ass, aka Madam Whip-Ass. But anyway, yeah, that was, she put it down in a way that just off the cuff, I just couldn't do. So I acknowledge her greatness in that. I'll go down this other list on narcissists. It'll go in detail the same way, but it's not just a one-shot deal where it's like saying, describe an apple, you know, or what does an airplane do? You know, it's like she said, these guys are chameleons. I'm going to read down this list. And I'm going to speak about personal experiences because many of you know of many of those here. Remember the conference call when I went in and explained certain things that I went through a true narcissist. I couldn't believe it. And it is so weird how they see reality when it all comes out, when they show you their real face and how they can fool the whole world. It's really shocking. Like, I never really knew this person. It's crazy. And this is the part that I really want to speak about insecurities, and I'll get into this and all this next week and possibly tomorrow, because me and Madam Fat-Ass or Whip-Ass, we spoke about we want to speak on a different topic, but we probably do 2 of them tomorrow. And I want to start out, I don't know what time she's going to be available, but we're going to go live on that tomorrow, whichever time. I'll broadcast it enough and let you guys know. But all this next week, I want to get into this because it's getting worse in the society. There are just too many narcissists running around here. And again, I blame social media. You know, I really do. You know, and It's fanning the flames for these types. It adds an extra layer on their game because they can have several profiles up. I've seen this happen. And I'm going to get into this list. But they have a profile for this version of this person that they want to put out there. They have another profile for this other version. So they will friend you on Facebook and you get to see this long history that because they've been working on this for a while. And you say, oh, he's such an honest person. He's such a nice person. It undergirds the deception. And it makes it more difficult. It's like walking in a maze where there's no ending. There's no opening. There's no out. And you're walking around trying to find a way out and you never do. You get caught up. It's crazy. So for me, like I said, growing up, I had my healthy sense of insecurity, which I was not insecure, but I wanted to be better built, better shape. And my father, when he was much younger, he was into bodybuilding. He was into martial arts. He was into boxing. He was also a very smart man, very wise man. And even though when he conceived me with my mother, he was 46 years old. So he wasn't 22. So when I was 10 years old or 9 years old or whatever, he was around 55, 56. When I was 20 years old, he was 66. So when I was 20 years old, it wasn't like I had a father who was 40, 42. He was up there in age, but he maintained a certain physicality and getting around before he got severely sick, before he transitioned. So I wanted to emulate that. Because when I was 5 years old, and he might have been 52 or whatever, because of 9 months of pregnancy, he still had these arms and this build. Now, he was a short guy. He was built just like Mike Tyson in his prime. But as he got older, he kind of lost that, as that happens when you age. But my first impressions of a man, it was that. So the funny part about it with me, and I'm just giving you a little background on it, when I was 5 or 6 years old, my father, he had muscles, so he walked like he did. He wasn't stiff, but so I'm copying him when I'm walking down the street with him like I got muscles. They ain't have no muscles at all. And people would giggle, oh, that's so sweet. You look up to your father because you're trying to walk like him. You see? So that's the thing. As I grew up, I had a standard set in front of me. And I always aspired to be that, not just on a physical level, because he taught me other things. So that helped buffer the higher levels of insecurity that a lot of young men have, because my father and my mother, but I'm just saying from a man's point of view and from a father's point of view, he protected me from that by building me up in a way that kept me from falling into the pitfalls of natural insecurity. These days, you got to pity the youth, the ones who are 12 and 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, because they have it blasted to them through social media how perfect everybody else is. So their natural insecurities are amplified unnecessarily, because we know we have filters on pictures. We know we have graphics programs where we can slim ourselves down, change the complexion of our skin, make our nose a different shape, make our lips a different shape, and present it to the world. And some young girl out there at 16 years old is saying, oh my God, look at her. She's 16 too, but she doesn't have any pimples on her face. The girl might have more pimples on her face, but you can remove those things. You can remove them and look perfect. So social media has created and is creating a whole other generation of people who are going to be more narcissistic or more beat down because they don't come off as perfect. And we haven't seen the worst of it yet. Social media is in full bloom. What about the 13 or 14-year-olds that are affected now? We're not going to see this thing for another 10 years. Or just say, with an ever-increasing crescendo, It's going to get worse year after year after year. And some of us who are older and who should know better, who haven't gotten a grip on our natural insecurities, it's going to mess us up too. And I'm seeing it really bad. And we're becoming head cases in the comfort of our own home. Seriously. Because we're peeking in other people's lives and we're measuring. I'm not saying anybody here or most people, but it will be probably most people. I don't have any statistics or percentages to say how much it is because everybody's different. These things may permeate the next person deeper than it permeates you and I. We may have more of a sense of who we are than the next person. And then we don't know because everybody's smiling, everything's okay, and so on and so forth. But it rears its ugly head, and you have to be made to pay for somebody else's insecurities. And that's terrible. You don't know who these people are. You look at Bozo the clown over here. He's a clown. He's got makeup on. He's got a weird hairstyle that a lot of men have. And you don't really know this person, but he's there to make you laugh. And just like the song, Tears of a Clown When No One's Around, they put up a front. We have men who they categorize as alpha males. You have men that they categorize as beta males. They're a little more subservient. They may not take charge as much as what the alpha male does. And you have another category that most people don't know, and it's called sigma males. And people say, Lance, you're an alpha male. And I say, no, not really. I'm more of a sigma male than anything else. And I'm glad they understand that category. But I understand when they don't know the difference between them. People can Google that and figure out what that is. But generally, folks say alpha male. That's the one who's outgoing. That's the one who's the leader. That's the one who is the take charge guy that amongst other men, he is the one who you go to because he is the strongest, the smartest, the most assertive. And the sad part about it is, and this is me speaking from personal experience, you have those people who put those exteriors up, and I'm talking from personal experience now, but they're not really that. They're wearing a gorilla suit. They're wearing an exoskeleton. They're wearing a costume. They're wearing a mask because behind the mask, they're scared little boys. They're frightened little boys who are insecure, who feel bad about their lives because they feel deficient on things. Like I say, we all have a healthy sense of we need to improve, but deep down, there are reasons why these types feel that way. So let me speak about the insecure men a little bit more from my personal experience. And we have our own Black brothers who have insecurities like any other race of men, but it stings them more in this world where we have the imbalanced set of opportunities. We have the racism, we have different things. So to me, from my experience, I've experienced these types of men even more because they've always directed their insecurities to me personally. Always. See, just because a man shows you a certain face, ladies, you say, oh, he's a nice guy. He's really kind to me. Now, I'm not saying that all men are trying to get between your legs. But ladies, you know how it is. And I've talked to enough women over the years online, and most receive those pictures of the man's private parts. You don't even know this woman, and you're sending her pictures of your private parts. Now, if you have a relationship that is intimate and on that level, click away. Take all the pictures you want. That's a beautiful thing. If you live in one town or you're away for 2 weeks, baby, listen, I got this thing here for you. I can't wait for you to come back. I'm going to really treat you nice. You can do that. Ladies, you're in a committed relationship where you know the man loves you, you're getting intimate, you live together, and he smacks you on the ass and says, damn, that thing is looking good. He couldn't get away with that when he first met you or the second day you dated. You'd smack him in the face. You know what I mean? So it depends on what level. But I can tell you, like with me personally, I don't walk around with muscle shirts. I don't have muscles no more. I may look a little more built than most, but that is not where my head is at. And I've had dudes see my picture from when I was a competitive bodybuilder, and they're in their 50s and 60s like me. I'm 60. And they're in their 50s. And they caught wind of what I used to do, which that is not my identity. Some men, that's all they are, like just the physicality. I have to keep up my muscles, and I have to keep up, and I have to eat good because I have to keep my dick hard, and I have to keep, I'm 71 years old, and I got that girl knocked up. I'm so proud, not because you're having a baby, but because you're 71 and you can still get it hard and get the girl pregnant. There's a lot of motivations behind a lot of these weirdo men with their insecure energies. And me, who have been confident all my life, and I give men props. It's not like I don't give men and other men props. I'm not the guy who always has to be at the helm. I'm not the guy who always has to know everything. I'm not the guy who always has to be, look, this is social media. This is the platform. That's LANCESCURV. There's my face. You have to promote things a certain way. You have to make things glossy and nice and cool. I don't have to do that, really. I don't need to do that, but that's what you do. You associate who you are with the products and things that you put out there. It's a level of trust after, oh, that's Lance. I know him. He's a good guy. Some may not. He's a prick. You know, let them think what they want to think. I don't care. But I say this. The way men treat women may be a little different than they treat other men who they feel insecure when matched up next to. And I'm going to say a couple of adult words, so I don't refer to women as just the body part, but I'm going to say it this way. I have experienced meeting men in certain circles that I'll probably have to deal with, live near, or whatever, and they get to know you and know your past, and because they have a deep-rooted sense of insecurity, they get mad at the potential. And mind you, here comes the word. They get mad at the potential for getting pussy. And it's like, wait a second. Because these guys rate their worth when they were younger on their ability to attract women. Now, I'm not saying that's all you are. I'm just using it the straight way. And there's a lot of guys who only see you as that. Come on now, y'all know that. You have some really good men out here who are balanced and appreciate the total essence of a woman, how they can nurture, how they undergird families and support and taking care of the children in the home and even still work and the comfort that they bring. Just a body part. But you have guys who will talk to you this way and make you think that they understand the total value of a woman, the spiritual essence, the physical, the mental, right? But deep down, they only think that, and they will hate you as a man. Maybe y'all don't know this. I'm gonna tell you some personal experience. They will hate the next man who has more pussy accruing ability. And the guy that has the ability to attract maybe more women, he ain't even thinking that way. This is the thing. He ain't even thinking that way. Do you think that I get on YouTube every day and talk from the heart, run the website and all these different social media platforms just so I can get laid? That's a whole lot of getting laid. For what? I'm cerebral, I'm spiritual. Yes, I have my shows where I get down and dirty and tell some dirty jokes. I can say words too. I can tell you some really decadent situations that I've been around. But I don't want a person around me if they think that I think like that. So a lot of these dudes, they will be in an older age and get mad. I'm going to say it again, the word. They get mad at the pussy you got 30, 40 years ago. Yo, we're older than that, man. We may still enjoy the beautiful amenities of a woman's body, but it shouldn't be just about that. Come on now. And you're going to be mad at me because in my youth, I was built that way and looked that way. Yeah, I did. I took care of myself. I think it shows a little bit now that this guy must have been, really something back in his day, but I don't live in the past. And there's some men who are so insecure that on sight, as soon as they begin to understand your essence as a man, they want to shut you down because they don't want you to shine. But I'm not trying to shine to impress anybody. I am who I am. I'm using myself as my own example. See what I mean? So this thing runs deep, and you may not know it. How a man or your man, somebody you know, how they deal with other men and why they don't like them immediately. Because just the same way, understand this. I'm speaking from experience, yo. I didn't even read the list yet. But just like, what they say, this is what they say. I'm not asking for validation or for you to confirm it, but they say that when a woman meets a man, right, she makes up within her mind, within the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 30, I don't know. This is what I heard. I know you heard this statement before. She's made up in her mind whether she has the potential to get intimate with him, to go to bed with him. I believe that to a point. It may not be the 5-minute thing. Even if she's not like, oh, I'm going to do this for him, or I'm not saying you hot to trot like that, but you're like, okay, he dresses nice, he's intelligent, he's employed well, and he has a nice place, and he seems to be a deeply spiritual man. You go through these things, and you're like, it can go there. It doesn't mean I'm going to do this. It means that I can go there with him, but it's not time for that yet. Well, the same way a woman can assess a man is the same way in a non-homosexual way that a man can assess another man, meaning that he can see his attributes, he can feel his intent, and when you learn the factual things about the past, and if it's this insecure man who's assessing this, he's not going to like anybody who can shine more than him, potentially. You may not even be trying to shine in the midst of this insecure man, but he's going to take it that way. So he's not going to want to be around you when you both are around women. You might work in the same job in the office, and that insecure man has been there for years, and he has a way of communicating with the female coworkers. Ain't nobody interested in him, but he knows them and they're friendly, and he would love to jump into bed with half of them, but they ain't paying no mind like that. He's cool that way. He's all right because he's the only man around. They love to be around lots of women because their insecurities are not activated, even when they know those women don't want to be bothered with him. But let a new hire come in, a new employee into that area of the office. And this guy who's been working there already for 15 years and knows these ladies well, they're in the break room. And the new guy maybe called out that day. And they're all in the break room having their lunch hour. And one of the girls says, that new employee, let's just say his name is Edward. Edward's a fine man. Is he married? One of the girls says, I talked to him the other day and I found out that he wasn't. Oh my God, he's not married? Ooh, child, that man is fine. He's built so nice and he's a gentleman. He got some pretty teeth. And one of the other girls who may be a little more frisky, they're like, yeah, he got up and you know how your pants kind of scrunch up? It's like, yeah, he's built all right. And I think he's packing. Ooh, girl, you crazy. You know how it goes. And so this is the thing. This guy who's hearing that, he never heard that kind of talk about him. Nobody ever looked at him as a potential date or a mate or somebody they're attracted to. Automatically, this man can't stand Edward's presence in that job because he feels that Edward, the handsome guy, the new hire, the employee, the new employee, is going to get to go places that he never got with these women before. So now he starts a smear campaign subtly on Edward, trying to make it seem as though Edward's gay. I saw him down in the area where they had a bunch of gay bars. He could be lying about the thing. or he'll try to discredit Edward on the job to make him look stupid. As Edward begins to speak to explain things, this other insecure, chubby man boob having dude keeps cutting him off in the conversation, trying to minimize him and discredit him. This is what happens to you when you're a man who has confidence and you get around other men who are not confident in what they do. Listen, I love my hobby here online. I love the way to write. I love to draw. I love life. I'm seeking out only the good things in life, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in a mansion or drive a luxury car, but just to get up and have some peace and say, listen, this is what I want to create today. Let me go into the deepest annals of my soul and just come out with something. Let me enjoy the sunset. Let me enjoy looking over the mountains. Let me not bring my cell phone and wallet. I'll crumble up a few bills and take a walk with a t-shirt, shorts, and some Crocs. That's where I am right now. And you have a lot of men and they get this way as they get older. The insecurities come out. And it's a terrible thing because you can't get along with these guys. And women usually don't pick up on that, especially when these guys are trying to get onto your good side. So if you say something about, no, I never noticed that with him. He's always, because they're always going to want to appeal to the women. I'm going to say one more thing on that level, and I'm going to read down this list. But on Facebook, maybe about 11 years ago, 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, I went to the beach in Florida. There's a whole lot of beaches in Florida. We were up in Brevard County, and we went to Cocoa Beach. And as a footnote for people who don't know, that's where Major Nelson lived on the old sitcom, the old TV show, I Dream of Jeannie, right? So I was always joking, yeah, I'm going out to where, Major Nelson, where they live, Dr. Bellows, Major Nelson, and we went out to Cocoa Beach, and there was a parking lot there. They have a bigger parking lot for all the people who want to park and go to the beach. I couldn't believe that the name of that parking lot was I Dream of Jeannie Lane. I couldn't believe that. For those who don't know, that's real. And that was the name of the show, I Dream of Jeannie, from back in the 70s. Whether it was I Dream of Jeannie Lane or I Dream of Jeannie Way, but it was I Dream of Jeannie something, but I think it was Lane or parking. I'm not sure. That bugged me out. That was pretty cool. So anyway, I'm at the beach. Mrs. Scurv was there. And, you decide to take pictures with the water behind you in social media. Like, hey, I'm at the beach today. Hey, take a look how nice it looks. Nothing sinister. So she said, I don't feel like taking a picture today. Let me take some pictures of you. So I said, okay. So I'm standing there. I stood to the left, stood to the right and looked up, and she's clicking away. Enough was enough. So she's like, let's take some more. I said, okay, no problem. So I had a t-shirt on, shorts, and I picked up my sandals and had it in my hand. I put them down temporarily, and just as a joke, I pulled up my shorts real high and I flexed my thighs. And they don't look the way they used to look back in 1982, but they look pretty good for somebody who ain't been to the gym since 1985. And I put all the pictures up. And there was this one guy who used to come on my show. He has his own website and everything. He was one of those guys. He got on there. It was ripping me apart. That's Photoshop. Your legs don't look like that. There's no way your legs look like that. No, he's fronting. You talking to other people, they would compliment me and say, man, your legs look nice. And he said, no, he's Photoshopping. I already knew he was like that anyway. We'll not get too deep. There are people who've been on the platform who remember that episode. But he showed who he was. An insecure man. An insecure man is a dangerous being, but they'll never show the ladies unless you catch a glimpse of it and you're hip to it and you're deep enough. You'll never really notice it, never really see it, because they want to appeal to you and smash the one who they think is a threat. And then you have these guys who They will roll with you for a while. Many of you know people I've dealt with like this who are not around no more. They will utilize your talents and abilities for their benefit to elevate them, but they really can't stand you. And they're really mad that you may have these talents and abilities that you give to the world effortlessly without, I'm not looking for any acquaintance. It's just what I do. You know what I mean? But they know if they had them same abilities and talents, they would be, so they try to learn from you. They try to emulate you, but they're hating you at the same time. Unbelievable. I can get deeper into that, but I ain't going to go there. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, let me read this list. I've been on here quite a while. Okay. This is what we do. And tomorrow, like I said, this week we'll focus on narcissists in general. And maybe tomorrow we'll start out with Madam Whip-Ass, aka, as you saw, Madam Fat-Ass. If you're just coming in, don't get mad at me. That's the name she used. So yeah, I'm going to read from this. Okay. Are narcissists insecure? I mean, are narcissists insecure? It's hard to think of them as such, since they often give off the impression that they're self-assured and don't need anyone else. But the truth is, many of them struggle silently with insecurities. What is a narcissist? Narcissism is a personality disorder characterized by an exaggerated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. People with this disorder think they're way more unique and accomplished than they are. And because they feel so special, they expect others to give them attention or admiration. Sadly, narcissism can start at a young age. It is often caused by parents or caregivers who either spoil their kids or don't set healthy boundaries. Children who aren't taught how to manage their emotions and behavior are more likely to develop narcissistic traits. It can be tough to break free from these behaviors because they're profoundly ingrained and reinforced by the person's environment and social interactions. Furthermore, certain types of people and personalities are more prone to narcissism. For example, super ambitious and competitive people who crave attention and recognition are more likely to exhibit narcissistic behaviors. Narcissism can also be more common in specific careers where they are given a lot of attention, like public speaking or performance. But it's important to remember that anyone can develop narcissistic traits, not just limited to a particular group or person. Despite how they might come across, narcissists are insecure. They are super sensitive to criticism and go to great lengths to protect their ego to maintain their sense of superiority. They may also rely on external validation and approval to feel good about themselves. And this is why I say the internet is a supply and a source for that external validation and approval. And this is why so many of them are there, but they're trying to hide it. They try to make it seem like they have holy and decent intentions, but they're only there to feed themselves and their insecurities. This insecurity can drive their need for attention and admiration, making them less empathetic and more likely to use others for their gain. It's important to remember that this insecurity is often the root of narcissistic behaviors. And understanding this may communicate or help us communicate and interact with narcissists more effectively. Low self-esteem. Even though narcissists seem super confident and self-assured, they tend to have pretty low self-esteem. Their inflated sense of self-importance isn't usually backed up by their accomplishments or how others see them. They also feel inferior to others they see as successful or superior. See, this is the problem on social media. They also feel inferior to others they see as successful or superior, right? I'm going to add into that, like I said, about the insecure man. So they have to try to strike you down. They have to try to stop what you're doing that sincerely shines to the world, because they don't want it to shine to the world, because they think you're not going to see them. This is why we've had a lot of fools around here in the last couple of years. Yes, Lance's platform is going to die because I am not there. You wish that because you know that you don't have the wherewithal to do what I do. And even when you do, it's only in one area. You can't just be in one area and just hammer just to get, no. And nobody's worried about these kind of people, but they're worried about them. They can't keep people around them that are assured and confident, because they're not. This insecurity can make them constantly crave attention and admiration to reaffirm their worth and value. It can also make them less empathetic and more likely to use others for their gain, since they are afraid of rejection or vulnerability. These factors can lead to low self-esteem and a sense of insecurity for narcissists. Fear of rejection. Narcissists fear rejection to protect themselves from feeling of inadequacy. To avoid rejection, narcissists try to control their relationships or manipulate others to get their way. They also pursue constant validation and attention from others to bolster their self-esteem. Hence, the need for that crack pipe called the smartphone or computer to do stuff online to be admired. However, these behaviors can only mask the deeper insecurities that narcissists try to hide. Narcissists' fear of rejection is often a reflection of their insecurity and inability to connect with others emotionally in an authentic way. To overcome this fear, narcissists need to work on building a healthier, more realistic sense of self-esteem and learn to accept and understand their own emotions and the emotions of others. This can be a challenging process, but with time, effort, and support, it is possible to progress and develop more meaningful and fulfilling relationships. History of neglect. Although narcissism can develop from parents spoiling their children, narcissistic traits also appear in neglected children. And it's always, this is me talking now, and I'm focusing on men. It's always those neglected men who felt like they weren't loved, who were left home and just walking up and down the street. Mother left them in the house 2 and 3 weeks, didn't care for them, didn't show them no love, never hugged them and said, I love you, and show it. And that's unfortunate. So there are times when I speak about my parents and how I was loved and I felt good in my childhood. I didn't realize I was stepping on toes and making these types of men not like me. So they had to come at me and shoot me down, because the very thing that left them open to feeling neglected with low self-esteem and not valid, I was validated like a mother. So I don't have to prove myself to people and come out here, I am this and I am that. And yeah. And with people like that, they cannot maintain healthy relationships. If you begin to shine, see, they'll use you when you have a talent, but if you begin to shine in a way that others admire them, other people, they got to get rid of you. They got to shoot you down. They got to smear your name so they can be the one on top. They want to control. This is what I have experienced, So it's important to note that not all narcissists have a history of neglect, but the ones who do can become even more possessive and overbearing with their loved ones. They crave your love, friendship, and admiration to heal their inner child. although it is not the best way to heal from neglect. It can be a reason for their insecurities. God complex. Narcissist God complex is their exaggerated sense of superiority. They think they're way better than others and deserve special treatment or recognition. This sense of worth can be fueled by underlying insecurity, a lack of confidence in their abilities, or inadequacy. Narcissists rely on external validation and approval to feel good about themselves and be threatened by criticism or perceived challenges to their authority. All of these factors can contribute to their God complex, even though it may seem like they have a high opinion of themselves. It's important to remember that despite their appearance of confidence, underlying insecurity drives their needs for admiration and special treatment. Feelings of inferiority. On the surface, many narcissists appear confident and self-assured, but underneath, they struggle with deep-seated feelings of inferiority and might actually believe that they are not as worthy or deserving as others. One possible reason for this feeling of inferiority is unhealthy relationships with people in their lives. For example, they may have received overly critical or invalidating messages during childhood, or they are in a relationship that does not meet their emotional needs. This can lead to a belief that they are not good enough or do not deserve love or acceptance. Another reason a narcissist may feel inferior is that they may have unrealistic or grandiose expectations for themselves. They may set impossibly high standards for themselves and feel like a failure when they cannot meet them. This can lead to a lack of self-esteem and deep-seated insecurity. Fragile ego. It is important to note that narcissists often have an extreme need for validation and admiration from others. They may go to great lengths to be seen as special or unique or have an overstated sense of their own importance. However, their self-worth is often closely tied to the admiration they receive from others. Their ego can be easily bruised if they don't get any recognition they deserve. So a narcissist's fragile ego can be a significant source of their insecurity. They rely on external validation to feel good about themselves, and when they don't get it, it can be difficult for them to maintain a sense of self-worth. A narcissist cannot go through life without polishing their ego, and the only way to do that is through other people's validation. Feeling guilt or shame. Narcissists often strongly desire to be seen as perfect or superior to others. They want to uphold a confident image and have difficulty admitting when they're wrong. However, despite their efforts to appear flawless, they're still human and can make mistakes or do things they later regret. When this happens, they may feel guilty or ashamed. These emotions can be complicated for narcissists as they often have fragile egos. They may feel their worth is wholly tied to their ability to be perfect or superior to others. When they feel like they failed in this regard, it can be difficult for them to maintain their confidence. Overall, a narcissist's guilt or shame can contribute to their insecurity. They may struggle to cope with these emotions and may have difficulty accepting that they're not perfect. This can leave them feeling vulnerable and uncertain about their worth as a person. Difficulty being vulnerable. Narcissists may find it hard to be vulnerable due to their insecurity for several reasons. One reason is that they often desire to appear competent to others. This need to appear strong and capable can make it difficult for them to be vulnerable and open, as they may fear being seen as weak and imperfect. It can be challenging to be emotionally vulnerable around someone, but once we open up to others, we grow meaningful connections. Another factor that can contribute to a narcissist's difficulty with vulnerability is their tendency to manipulate and exploit others. They may be skilled at using others to get what they want, but this can make it difficult for them to form authentic, meaningful connections. Narcissists would rather manipulate and appear confident instead of establishing genuine, I say genuine, loving relationships. Trouble with regulating emotions. Emotional regulation is the process of managing and healthily expressing emotions. It's about being able to identify and understand your feelings, as well as being able to cope with and communicate them effectively. Narcissists struggle with emotional regulation because they have difficulty recognizing and acknowledging their emotions. They also have a hard time seeking healthy ways to cope with their feelings and to turn unhealthy or destructive behaviors instead. They lash out against loved ones, end relationships, or emotionally harm others. This difficulty with emotional regulation can contribute to a narcissist's insecurity. They feel out of control and unable to cope with their emotions, leaving them vulnerable and uncertain about their worth. They do not understand emotions. Narcissists often wrestle with feelings of insecurity because they struggle with expressing empathy. It's difficult for narcissists to understand feelings outside their own. If their friend is sad, they can't empathize because of their inability to understand others' emotions. Narcissists lose many friendships because they're unable to comfort their friends. If a narcissist lack empathy and basic emotion, they will lose many people in their life. If they lose close friends and family, they lose the attention they believe they deserve. One of the biggest insecurities of narcissists is their lack of emotional intelligence. They must learn how to be happy when their loved ones are happy and offer comfort when they are sad. Until then, their insecurities around their lack of empathy will continue. Existential crisis. Narcissists may experience feelings of insecurity due to a fundamental existential crisis. This can result from a lack of meaning or purpose in their lives. Their crisis can lead to a sense of emptiness and a lack of direction, contributing to feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. Narcissists may try to compensate for these insecurities by seeking admiration from others or projecting an exaggerated sense of self-importance. However, these behaviors often serve as a mask for their deeper insecurities and do not address the fundamental issues. To overcome their insecurity, narcissists may need to address their existential concerns and work on finding meaning and purpose in their lives. This can be challenging, but it is essential to building a healthier, more fulfilling sense of self. By addressing their existential concerns and building a stronger sense of self, narcissists can overcome their insecurities and develop more meaningful and fulfilling relationships. Narcissists are insecure because they have a deep-seated need for validation and attention from others. They often try to overcompensate for this insecurity by seeking power and control over others and constantly seeking confirmation of their own self-importance. It may be helpful for narcissists to seek therapy or counseling to work through their emotional issues. Licensed professionals can help them learn coping strategies for managing their insecurities. It is important to remember that everyone has vulnerabilities, and it is perfectly okay to need support and understanding from others. If any of these reasons hit home with you, there are therapists, friends, real support, loved ones, but the bottom line is that you're going to have to face those vulnerabilities and insecurities. And this is me saying it now. Most narcissists don't want to do that. You have to come at them or be around them the way they want, so they can get what they want. But you can't shine around a narcissist. I know that's going to be one of the titles of the shows that I do next week. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to bring up points and do a little research. But next week, we're going to have a whole full week on different aspects of narcissism. And if I do 5 shows that are an hour too long, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, people have done whole channels on this and constantly speak on it. And it's very important because we have so many people around us who are that way. And one of the hurtful things, one of the most important things is they lack empathy. They're not able to understand other people's emotions because of the damage they had to endure at some part in their life. You could be sitting there crying your eyes out, hurt over something, and most often they'll sit there and look at you or just pay you no mind because they don't know what it's like to get to a point where you're hurt or you're in pain or you have a sense of loss. They may go in a robotic manner to, pat you back, okay, it's going to be okay. They're not feeling what you feel. You ever been around a person, or let's just say, for example, I'm speaking to different people here in the chat room because I know mentally you all are straight. That I know for me, if somebody gets around me and is deeply hurt, I can see they hurt and they start crying. I'm going to start crying too because I feel the pain of others. I'm open to how they feel and I'm a comforter. I want to comfort you. I want to make you feel better. Narcissists don't have that. So in that particular case, they feel cold. But I tell you one thing, they usually won't open up and shed tears. But even when they're feeling it on the inside and hide it from the outside world, they want attention and validation and comfort from you. But it's a one-way street. It doesn't work both ways with these narcissists. Trust and believe. That's the way it is. Wow. I'm going to open up. Yeah, you're right, Oyala. The internet is a cesspool of those types of people who operate like that. Yeah. Masjid Al-Fasel LLC. I don't know if I said it right, but like what you said, sounds like a lot of police officers. That's crazy. But it's the way it is. A lot of good comments. I'm going to wrap it down soon. There's just so much we are going to talk about, whatever I didn't cover. I'm not the specialist. I'll say Madam Fat Ass is Madam Whip Ass. She knows this thing good and she can go on for hours in a very interesting way from what it became a pet peeve of hers because, she's had to deal with these narcissistic types and there's that commonality. And when she kept hearing the word and sort of the study, it's like, whoa, so nobody breaks it down like her. I hope to get her on live during the week, but I know that we will be on live tomorrow at some point. It depends on her schedule because I'm 4 hours ahead of the East Coast and that may play a factor. But for me, I'm like a fireman. I'm ready 24 hours when it comes down to it. Also, let me not forget, we have our show with Dr. Ade tonight, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. for me. So, we're going to be rocking tonight. And if I can get some content up or record something before then to put up, I'll do so. But I have a few things I have to attend to here while the sun is bright and up in the sky. And I do have to make a run out. Actually, there's something I want to do. I have a big dining room table here. And there's 1 or 2 nuts that are gone. Like, man, I can't put up a table with 3 legs. So I'm going to have to go into town and also get some washers. So really and truly, I want to see that table up because this table that I'm working on is like really cluttered. It's a really wide table. It was what I used to use in my old studio in Orlando. And the 2 leaflets that make it longer, I couldn't even use that because the table was just big as it is. So now with more space, I can make it real long and I can put my drawing pad on one side, have the computers on the other. And this other table I'm using, it's good, but we can use it for other things, so that's what it is. So that's my project for the day, but I have to go and come back before it's time for Dr. Ade's show. And I believe it's on my YouTube channel already because I set it up already. So on that note, let me take a look and see if, okay, let me go back and do this way. Let me see if I can go back to the channel and actually just drop the link here for those who are here. Then that way you can put it aside and hold on to it for later on. It's going to be a really great topic. So let me get this link, do my job and share it now. So boom, here it is. That's the YouTube link of the show. So tuck that aside in your pocket somewhere. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Day is coming on, and we know it's going to be good. So we'll take a little break, and we'll come right on back. And I have a few things to touch up here on the platform. And that being said, we'll be back tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say. And I'm looking forward to the fellowship with everybody, you know? So on that note, let me get ready to go. And don't come in too soon, music. Let me get ready to go. And much love to you all. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell me or share in the comment section your dealings with narcissists or any comments that you want to make. Let's keep it going. We're going to have a whole week this week of narcissism and narcissists. And, you know, you want to have comments. You want to have, stories of you sharing your experiences, whether it's written or coming into the actual show. So on that note, let me go on and do these things so we can be back. I only have like a little over 4 hours and 23 minutes to come back for Dr. Day's show. And I look forward to seeing you there. Much love to you all. Take care. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Peace.